Resident Evil 4. The sixth main entry in the Resident Evil series, the game was originally released for the Nintendo GameCube in January 2005. The story follows Leon S. Kennedy, who is sent on a mission to rescue Ashley Graham, the president's daughter, who has been kidnapped by a mysterious cult. Traveling to a village in Europe, he encounters a horde of violent villagers who pledge their lives to the cult. The game was intended to be a GameCube exclusive, but a PlayStation 2 version was announced before the game was released for the GameCube. Resident Evil 4 garnered universal critic acclaim. The game was considered by most critics as a top contender for the 2005 Game of the Year, and was seen as a successful crossover hit. The new gameplay alterations and immersive style appealed to many not previously familiar with the series. Raccoon City has been destroyed under orders from the US government. After the company Umbrella set an experiment that caused major incidents, Leon S. Kennedy is recruited by the US Secret Service after they learn of his involvement within Raccoon City. Leon is sent on a mission to rescue Ashley Graham, the president's daughter, who has been kidnapped by a mysterious cult. He travels to a village in Europe, where he encounters a group of violent villagers, who pledge their lives to Los Illuminados, or the Enlightened Ones. While in the village, Leon is captured by its chief and injected with a mind-controlling parasite known as Las Plagas, or the Plagues. Leon discovers that Ashley is being held in a chapel and rescues her. Osmond Sadler, leader of the Illuminados, reveals his plans to use the Plagas to inject on Ashley to cause a disaster on the United States once she's back.
Lárgate, cabrón. Sorry to have bothered you.
While in the castle, Leon briefly encounters Ada Wong, a woman from his past that supports him across his mission. He then battles his way through the castle until killing Salazar. Leon later learns that one of his former comrades from his years of training, Jack Krauser, is alive and is responsible for Ashley's kidnapping. Both Ada and Krauser are actually working together for a third party related with Umbrella, and that Krauser intends to kill Sadler when he gets the chance. After Krauser's defeat, Leon rescues Ashley and they remove the Plagas from their bodies using specialized radiotherapeutic device. Leon confronts Sadler after seeing Ada as his hostage. With Ada's help, Leon kills Sadler and Ada takes the sampler. She then escapes from the complex in a helicopter, leaving Leon and Ashley to escape via her jet ski as the island explodes. The player controls Leon S. Kennedy from a third-person over-the-shoulder perspective. The gameplay focuses on action and shootouts involving crowds of enemies in large open areas. The camera is focused behind Leon, and it zooms in for an over-the-shoulder view when aiming a weapon. Unlike previous games in the series, there is addition of a laser sight that adds a new depth to the aiming, allowing the player to aim in various directions and easily change their placement at any time. Bullets affect the enemies, specifically where they are shot. Shots to the feet can cause enemies to stumble, while shots to the arms can cause them to drop their weapons. Another new aspect of Resident Evil 4 is the inclusion of context-sensitive controls. Based on the situation, the player can interact with aspects of their environment, kicking down a ladder, jumping out of a window, or dodging an enemy attack. There are also dynamic cutscenes, in which the player must press buttons indicated on screen to execute actions, such as dodging a falling boulder or wrestling an enemy to stay alive. These are often incorporated into the game's main boss battles, where the player must avoid instant kill attacks. The main enemies are violent villagers referred to as Los Ganados, or the Kettle. Los Ganados can dodge wheeled melee weapons and projectile weapons, and are capable of working collectively and communicating with each other. They are once simple farmers until becoming the products of an infestation of the Plagues. The inventory system of the game features a grid system, represented by an attached case that has each item take up a certain number of spaces. The case can be upgraded several times, allowing for more space. Weapons, ammunition and healing items are kept in the case, while key items are kept in a separate menu. Items may be bought from and sold to a wandering merchant that appears in various locations throughout the game. He sells first aid sprays, weapons, and allows weapon upgrades, and buys various treasures that Leon finds. The various weapons have each of their own advantages and disadvantages.
Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles.
Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles. It's a rail shooting video game released for the Wii on November 13, 2007. It was followed by Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles. Both Chronicles games will be included on the Resident Evil Chronicles HD collection for the PlayStation 3. The game exposes the Umbrella Corporation's meddling throughout the Resident Evil series. Through narration from Albert Wesker, a former corporation scientist, and hidden documents pertaining to the organization's secret motives and actions. The game is composed of 5 scenarios that recapitulate the events of Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil, and Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, as well as a new material pertaining to the Umbrella Corporation's downfall.
We'll worry about that later. For now, we better get to safety.
The Umbrella Chronicles first scenario, based on the events of Resident Evil 0, follows STARS operative Rebecca Chambers and former Marine Billy Cohen as they venture through a train that eventually takes them to a training facility. Once within the facility, they discover they are being stalked by James Marcus, one of the Umbrella Corporation's co-founders and former scientists, who has managed to resurrect himself with the aid of leech test subjects. After confrontation, Marcus mutates into a monstrosity, but is subdued by the duo. Chambers and Cohen escape as the facility self-destructs. Another sub-chapter within the scenario traces Wesker's actions, now posing as the leader of STAR's Alpha team as he attempts to escape the training facility. This chapter also introduces Sergei Vladimir and one of his bodyguard tyrants, codenamed Ivan.
You're just gonna walk away? Our research isn't complete. We can make a more powerful virus.
Do what you like. The T-virus is near completion and only needs test data. That is why STARS is in place. I will bring them into the mansion.
Damn it! I better get rid of this place before there are any more complications.
The game then proceeds to retell the events of the first Resident Evil. The scenario follows Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. As opposed to the actual Resident Evil game, which features the two splitting up, Redfield and Valentine are forced to battle their way through a mansion full of undead residents, before stumbling upon a secret Umbrella Corporation research facility in the mansion's basement. The two then discover the facility's most powerful creation, a tyrant, and destroy it. The scenario features 2 different sub-chapters, which reveals Chambers' action between Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil, as well as Wesker's reanimation and escape after his apparent death. The next scenario visits Raccoon City during the events of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Valentine returns to the game and is paired with mercenary Carlos Oliveira as they attempt to survive an outbreak of the T-virus. After defeating several net citizens, Valentine and Oliveira encounter Nemesis, an upgraded tyrant, sent to kill Valentine. They defeat Nemesis and escape Raccoon City before it is destroyed by the United States government in a desperate contingency measure. The scenario also features 2 sub-chapters detailing Ada Wong and Hunk's background roles during the main scenario's events. The game's final scenario is composed of new material, which trails Redfield and Valentine as they attempt to infiltrate the Umbrella Corporation's final stronghold in Russia. Now leading a group of armed activists, they storm the stronghold, encountering waves of undead soldiers and mutations. Despite their force sustaining heavy casualties, Redfield and Valentine enter the facility's inner sanctum, only to encounter and destroy the Umbrella Corporation's latest creation, the T-ALOS project. The game's final subchapter features Wesker infiltrating the facility in an attempt to recover the Umbrella Corporation's most important files. He is confronted by his longtime nemesis Sergei Vladimir, whom he defeats. The game's credits reveal that the Umbrella Corporation's secrets have finally been exposed. As a result, the government dissolves the company and begins to take legal action against its top officials. The Umbrella Chronicles is an on-rails shooter. Players follow a preset path, shooting enemies and picking up optional weapons and health items, occasionally choosing between multiple paths. Using the analog stick on the nunchuck, players can look around in a limited manner. In some cases, the Wii remote can be used to activate melee weapons against enemies where the camera shifts to a third-person view, or use timed buttons in certain cutscenes to evade traps and enemy attacks. Each stage is split into individual chapters and contains safe checkpoints at the end of each chapter. Stars are obtained at the end of each stage based on the player's performance, which can be used to upgrade weapons. To unlock some levels and sub-levels, the player needs a certain ranking, S being the best. The amount of destroyed items, obtained objects, files, critical hits, and clear time affects this. Upon beating Hunk's fourth surviving mission, cooperative mode will be unlocked for the single player missions. When selecting characters, an option will appear on the screen to select co-op mode. Both players will play as the same character, but each player will have their own aiming rectable.